been having these weird thoughts lately. Like, is any of this for real? Or not?
A fine opening statement, Sora. Now let's see if the rest of the game follows through on this question about reality and your possible loss of connection to it, or if Tetsuya Nomura simply thought that it sounded deep and went with it without any intention to ever explain it. Yeah, okay. This opening is still one of the only things capable of briefly counteracting the cal sedatives I'm taking. That's enough to remove sins and start this video off in the negative. But believe me, Kingdom Hearts 2 is going to be making up for it with a sin tariff when I get around to that one. I know the reason why Sora's shoes are so big, and it's to make him look like an old school Disney character, but being that he is mostly human proportioned, his shoes leave him looking like he'd be tripping over those things whenever he tries to walk. Everything about this overly long opening tutorial should make me sin it for being a waste of time, but I won't. It not only does the job of teaching you to play, but creates a sense of mystery and horror. It was all just a dream cliché. As anyone who has ever fallen asleep on the beach at midday can tell you, Sora should wake up covered in sunburns. Actually, for kids who live on a tropical island and spend a good amount of time playing on the beach, none of them have the kind of tan you would expect.
What was your hometown like? You know, where you grew up?
I've told you before. I don't remember.
For years, Kairi has had to repeatedly tell Sora that she does not remember where she came from or how she got here. This is the guy she falls for.
I'd like to see it too. Along with any other worlds out there. I want to see them all.
At this point in time, you have no knowledge of any other worlds but this one, so this statement is incredibly weird.
I guess I'm the only one working on the raft.
According to their character bios, Sora and Kairi are 14 and Riku is 15. Ignoring how unlikely that is due to their appearance, that is still an age where kids would know that building a log raft and selling it out to sea in an attempt to find other worlds is pure stupidity. And these are kids who grew up on an island and therefore would have a better than average knowledge of the sea and how dangerous it is.
So, Kairi's home is out there somewhere, right?
Could be. We'll never know by staying here.
Normally, a Disney movie contents itself with a single sheltered child who wishes for a life of adventure. This game opted for 3. And let me point out, these 3 live in an island paradise with an entire small island turned into their personal clubhouse. What the hell do they have to be dispirited over?
And suppose there are other worlds. Then ours is just a little piece of something much greater.
If you are going to have this conversation, I expect a bong to be present somewhere in the scene. I guess they are going home for the day, but I don't see any boats by that dock that could take them. And if they use a boat to reach this secluded island, why are they obsessed with building a raft? The kingdom might want to revoke King Mickey's access to the royal treasury because he constructed a gigantic, impossible to open door only to set a more reasonably sized door inside it. Donald doesn't see that the throne is empty from this distance and continues talking as if he was addressing King Mickey. In this flashback with Sora and Kairi drawing faces in the cave, we can see that Sora has a completely normal-sized pair of feet. I guess my only question is, what the hell is up with his shoes, man?
I've come to see the door to this world.
This is actually only the second most embarrassing Disney role Billy Zane has taken. That honor goes to Pocahontas too.
There is so very much to learn. You understand so little.
There are only a handful of people throughout all of the worlds who would even understand you. Why talk down to a kid for not knowing a subject he had no way of knowing of? Are you going to school him in quantum physics next?
Deal? The winner gets to share a Palpu with Kairi.
Have you ever considered Kairi's feelings? Maybe she doesn't want to be bonded to either of you for eternity by eating fruit together. Maybe she's into that selfie chick.
Sora, don't ever change.
Oh, don't worry about that. Little character growth will be found in his vicinity. King Mickey's letter tells Donald and Goofy to seek out the person who wields a key, and that Leon and Traverse Town will set them on the right path. But as we see, Leon had no idea who the Keyblade wielder was, and only lucks into finding Sora right before Goofy and Donald arrive. And as other games in the series have proven, there are around a dozen different people Mickey could have mentioned that would know more about what's going on than Leon. Why even open that first gate if the gummy ship launches by falling through the gate below it?
Sora! Dinner's ready! Come on down! Sora?
This is the only time Sora's mother will be mentioned. Even after this world is destroyed, Sora does not waste a second thinking of his mother who slaved over a hot stove to make him dinner.
The door is open, Sora. Now we can go to the outside world.
What are you talking about? We've got to find Kairi!
Kairi's coming with us.
Riku seems to know an awful lot about what is currently happening when he couldn't possibly know anything about this. Square wasn't putting much creative thought in how to begin the hero's journey back in the aughts. Just compare Sora being pulled into a dark orb of evil and ending up in a different world to the scene in Final Fantasy X of Tidus being pulled into a dark orb of evil and ending up in a different world. There was less than a year between the release of both games. I'm not the first to bring this up, but why would Goofy, a talking dog, be comfortable with owning a regular dog as a pet? You are in a pretty normal looking town that could exist anywhere. somewhere. There is no reason to suspect you were in a world different from your own, even though you were right.
Now, let's see that Keyblade.
What? There's no way you're getting this.
Alright, then have it your way.
This is the guy King Mickey said knew everything, and he seems to think he can just take the Keyblade from its wielder. This being the final mixed version of Kingdom Hearts, it includes new scenes inserted into the game that add nothing, like this one of Riku awakening outside of Hollow Bastion, proving Square Enix can't stop trying to improve a game that was already excellent to begin with.
Excuse me, did the king send you?
Lance Bass, Haley Joe Osment, Billy Zane, even Mandy Moore. This game's ability to cast talent that was at the end of their relevance was astonishing, though it is possible that they were able to cast them in the first place because they were at the end of their relevance.
I think you might have overdone it, Squall.
That's Leon.
I'm impressed this game was able to bring over every ounce of Squall's teen angst.
The Keyblade chooses its master, and it chose you.
This info about the Keyblade and its wielder gets retconned all to hell in future games. What was a simple and effective plot device that required no explanation is ruined by attempts to answer questions no one was asking.
The Heartless?
The ones who attacked you, you remember?
Those without hearts.
The darkness in people's hearts. That's what attracts them.
This game never goes into it, but this should be a much bigger deal than it is. Untold billions of people have been killed or disappeared due to the Heartless destroying their worlds. When you think about it, things are so bad you could consider this game as part of the post-apocalyptic genre. Leon and Aerith are part of the same group of refugees, and they're staying in hotel rooms right next to each other. Leon is giving the same briefing to Sora that Aerith is giving to Donald and Goofy, and they also know Donald and Goofy were sent by Mickey to find the Keyblade. So instead of filling those two in separately, why not introduce them to Sora and fill all of them in at the same time?
Wait a minute. What happened to my home? My island? Riku! Kairi!
Your mom? That dinner she made for you? Any of that matter? Sora's mom being completely unimportant is even worse when you think about all the plot holes this series has tried to fix. Yet this one has never been explained. It's amazing how dirty this game can seem once you play it after losing your virginity. It's here in Traverse Town you begin to notice some of the issues with the gameplay. One is the camera being the best example of a PlayStation 2 camera ever created, forcing you to fight it as much as the enemies. Next is the level design, but I'll go into detail on that sin in Monstro and Atlantica. Third is how every swing of Sora's Keyblade is like swinging Thor's hammer. It pulls him in the direction of the attack, meaning there were countless times where I was fighting enemies and flung myself off a ledge because an enemy was hovering just over it. Finally, the game often gives you objectives with no clear path on how to accomplish them. You just have to wander around until you hit the invisible trigger that summons the boss.
Who knows? But we need him to come with us to help us find the king.
I don't think Donald has a quiet voice, so Sora should have heard everything he just said. Since the game has already established that every star in the sky is another world, and that travel between worlds only recently became possible due to the Heartless breaking down the barriers between them, none of these worlds are charted on a map, and the plan here is to wander around an unknowable amount of worlds until they find a clue on the whereabouts of King Mickey or Riku and Kairi.
You can't come along looking like that. Understand? No frowning, no sad face.
Happiness is mandatory in the world of Kingdom Hearts. It's like Disneyland with the death penalty.
Who'd have thought it? Such is the power of the Keyblade. The child's strength is not his own.
Why don't we turn him into a Heartless?
Why even have the Disney villains hidden in shadow? These characters are so iconic that no one is going to be in doubt over who is talking.
Will it be he who conquers the darkness? Or will the darkness swallow him? Either way, he could be quite useful.
Sora conquering the darkness would be negative for you in any situation. Screw the effing gummy ship.
No, you're simply too big.
You are a talking duck in a multiverse full of magic and other sentient inanimate objects. You walked right past walking mops in your introduction. A talking doorknob shouldn't be that big of a surprise.
Court finds the defendant guilty as charged for the crimes of assault and attempted theft of my heart.
If someone tried to steal the Red Queen's heart, wouldn't she have seen the attacker during the assault, and therefore know it wasn't Alice? All of the evidence of the Red Queen's attacker is found in convenient gift wrap boxes. Can I send the Cheshire Cat for playing the pronoun game when it pretty much invented the art? You bet your ass I can. Are the Heartless actually worried about being found guilty to the point that they submitted a fake box of evidence to the court? Alice was in a cage suspended above the courtyard. Had anyone entered and taken her, it would have been pretty hard not to notice them entering and leaving. And if the Heartless came for Alice, why did they waste time trying to steal the Red Queen's heart? Instead of featuring the Mad Hatter in this game, they just drew a picture of him and focused the camera on it for a few seconds. Something tells me these first couple of worlds didn't receive as much love as the later ones do. So many of the bosses in this game hover just out of reach, which wouldn't be a bad thing except you don't get high jump and glide until much later, making these fights more frustrating than they should be. Do you think he agrees with that? Since Sora crashes the gummy ship in Deep Jungle, why didn't the three of them crash with the gummy ship? All three of them just fall out of the sky. There should be a wrecked gummy ship somewhere. Tarzan, you want to take a moment? You are in the home your mother and father were killed in after all. It's like that little fact has been overlooked just so they could include the treehouse as a location.
I sure hope Sora's okay.
Who needs him? We can find the king without him.
Sora is the only person who can save the universe, and you were under orders from your king to stay with him. Later, you were so uptight about following that order that you abandoned Sora to follow Riku.
I'm looking for my friends Riku and Kairi.
Friends, here.
Really?
Tarzan could have just put his hand over his heart and said, "Friends, here," and gotten the point across pretty clearly despite the language divide. Instead, he confused Sora into believing he knows where Riku and Kairi are. Considering the world they find themselves in, Clayton should be more than a little startled at the sight of talking animals, and would probably kill them given his character in the movie. You are in no position to be a bastard to Donald and make demands. If they were to leave, you would be stuck here.
Tarzan, go see Kerchak.
Kerchak?
He must be the leader. Perfect. I'll go along as an escort.
Clayton says this, but doesn't go with Tarzan and Sora to see the gorillas. Could the devs not have found a single sound-alike for the gorillas instead of having them be completely silent? Then again, this does spare us from having to hear someone impersonate Rosie O'Donnell. That's a globe of Earth, completely destroying the concept this game presents of multiple worlds, because several of the worlds Sora travels to would also be on Earth. I haven't the slightest idea of how Clayton missed when he fired his shotgun. If this game proved anything, it's that you don't need empowered female characters to sell a game to a lot of girls. Even by old-school Disney standards, this game makes its once proactive female characters next to useless, and yet women ate this game up. Clayton, after being possessed by Heartless, goes around Deep Jungle capturing gorillas and leaving them in areas instead of killing them. I'll be honest, I really don't know what he's trying to accomplish here.
Tarzan!
Oh no, some vines and sticks. What a diabolical cage man is fashioned for you. This is bringing back memories. I love the moment in the movie where Clayton rode a giant chameleon into battle. Kerchak didn't have to throw Sora that high if he just needed up on that ledge.
Friends there. See friends.
Oh, now I've got it. Means heart. Friends in our hearts.
What was the point of asking the gorillas for help in the first place if Tarzan simply wanted to offer some Saturday morning cartoon level dribble? All of this because Tarzan meant to say Sora's friends were in his heart. The first two keyhole Sora locks contain gummy ship navigation parts they need to travel to other worlds. Gummy ships were only recently created, so why would ancient keyholes contain parts for spaceships?
He remains blissfully unaware of our other plan.
Yes, the princesses.
They are falling into our hands, one by one.
The idea of Disney villains working together to gather 7 Disney princesses for their plan is a damn good one. However, Alice has never been a Disney princess. You didn't see her in Ralph Breaks the Internet. Leon didn't bother telling Sora about keyholes and the Keyblade's ability to lock them to keep worlds safe from the Heartless before letting him go on the journey. This is a guy so beat up over not being able to save his own world that he goes by a different name. And according to Mickey, knows everything you need to know. And he didn't share this information when it might have saved lives. Sid was tasked with repairing the 100-Acre Wood storybook for Merlin. How Merlin expected him to repair a book that is missing all of its pages is beyond me. Yuffie? Are you a squatter? Why would Mickey ask Merlin to train Sora in the art of magic when he already sent his court wizard Donald to aid him? Donald was even the one to give Sora his first spell. I suppose this is an example of being sucked into the middle of the book.
Guess what? Sora's the Keyblade Master.
About that, turns out there are a few more steps to becoming a legitimate Keyblade Master. Enough to make an entire spin-off game about it, in fact.
What's that mean?
So, this is called a Keyblade?
There is no way Riku lifted Sora's Keyblade without Sora noticing because he turned to look at Donald. You will always feel someone tugging something heavy out of your grasp.
No, he can't come.
What?
Forget it.
Oh, come on. He's my friend.
I don't care.
Donald could at least give a reason for not letting Riku come along. It can't be because of the rule about maintaining balance by restricting travel for people between worlds. Riku is already from another world and clearly traveling between them. Donald is unnecessarily being a dick and turning Riku into a villain.
Oh well. At least he's okay.
After all the agonizing Sora's done about finding Riku, he just gives an oh well when he disappears again. Oh my god, there's only one bed.
While you toiled away trying to find your dear friend, he quite simply replaced you with some new companions.
Riku, who just heard from Sora that he's been looking all over multiple worlds for him and Kairi, is easily convinced that Sora has abandoned him for new friends by someone who is so clearly evil she has a reverb effect on her voice. How could anyone ever get past such an obstacle to reach the bell and unlock the keyhole to this world?
This here's the world-famous Coliseum.
Not to interrupt you, Phil, but the Colosseum wasn't built until the Romans came along.
You got heroes standing right in front of you.
Yup, he's a real hero chosen by the Keyblade.
And we're heroes too.
Hero? That front?
Dude, the roster for your entire tournament appears to be Hercules and Cloud Strife. The only other participants are Heartless. And I have some questions on how you convince them to participate.
2 words. You guys ain't heroes.
Come on!
I know they want to relive moments from the movie, but Hercules is already a bona fide hero at this point, and Phil had the same reaction to him back then as he is now with Sora. So Phil should have already learned his lesson about not judging a book by its re-released, remastered, remixed 1.3 edition cover.
Rather a stubborn old goat, wouldn't you say?
On one hand, I appreciate this game for getting James Woods to voice Hades. On the other hand, I have to send this game for getting James Woods to voice Hades because goddamn the things we've learned about that man since this game came out.
Well then, hey, get a load of this.
A pass?
Even if Hades gives Sora a pass to enter the games, why would that change Phil's mind? Sora just walked out the door and came back in with a pass. And it wasn't the lack of a pass that Phil cited. He just doesn't think Sora has what it takes to be a hero. Not a single person is in these seats to watch these games take place.
I still can't believe that Squirt actually beat Cerberus.
Just between us, I'd already worn Cerberus down by the time the little guy jumped in.
Cerberus had you backed up against a wall and was clearly taking its time. This does not look like a man who was toying with a monster.
There ain't gonna be any games for a while. Gotta clean up the mess from that last battle first.
The stadium is built for fighting. How can it be torn up and in need of repair?
I'm looking for someone. Hades promised to help.
This is why when you were searching for a missing person, it helps to mention their name. Had Cloud simply said he was looking for Aerith, Sora could have given him the exact address where she lives and shares a bed with 2 other men and a girl. Why the hell was Hades even included in Maleficent's plan? He doesn't do anything to further the task of finding the princesses, doesn't look for this world's keyhole, and only tried to get rid of Sora once the opportunity presented itself.
But why worry about Princess Jasmine?
We need all 7 princesses of heart to open the final door.
Maleficent's already explained that you need the princesses to... You know, I don't think this game ever clarifies what Maleficent's endgame is. There's something about opening the door to darkness, but it's never clear what that will do. Does it unleash Heartless? Because they are already running rampant. The Heartless are really fond of cultural appropriation. Agrabah's culture is not your goddamn enemy design. Thank Allah I blend in perfectly with these watermelons.
Aladdin. Where might I find this street rat?
Jafar really has no reason to care about Aladdin since his goal is Jasmine in the keyhole. As much as I love this game's concept, Sora being dropped into the middle of the plot to play hero makes the game feel like a live attraction where a kid from the audience is selected to come up on stage and defeat the villain. If this game didn't have such insane production value, I would swear it's someone's self-insert fanfiction. Carpet came from the Cave of Wonders. How is it already in Aladdin's home if Aladdin at this very moment is inside the cave for his first time? I have to assume Abu died here in the quicksand, because he is never seen again. So why exactly was Aladdin out in the desert looking for the Cave of Wonders in this story? In the movie, he was tricked into doing it by Jafar, who wanted the genie's lamp, but Jafar is not looking for the lamp in this game and didn't know Aladdin.
Wish number 1 coming right up!
It is impossible to sin Robin Williams. And even though this isn't Robin Williams and sounds more like Homer Simpson doing his best genie impression, the character is so iconic that by default it gets a sin removed due to my nostalgia.
Legend has it that whoever holds the lamp can summon—
It's not really a legend anymore, is it? You just summon Genie.
So sorry, boy. I'm afraid your second wish has been denied.
First, how did Jafar even know Aladdin had the lamp? As it has been established, this is not going down like it did back in the movie. Second, how could Iago take the lamp from Aladdin's own hands without him noticing? Out of all the princesses, Jasmine was one of the most capable. In this game, she's been downgraded to the same level as Hamster that can't figure out how to get off its wheel.
To the desert! Come on, let's move!
You know Jafar is going to the Cave of Wonders how?
Are you Maleficent?
Teleportation is always used to be a dick cliche.
My final wish. I want you to make me an all-powerful genie!
Jafar is making this easy. Aladdin had to goad him into making that wish originally. Let's go after Jafar. It's not like you are leaving Jasmine, who you know the villains want, behind completely defenseless. Phenomenal cosmic power. Really easy boss battle.
Okay, Jafar. Back to your lamp.
So shouldn't Sora get 3 wishes now that he has Jafar in his lamp? He could end this right now by wishing for Kairi, Riku, and Mickey back.
Earth to Al. Hello, you still have 1 wish left.
Does that really count as your 3rd wish? Your 2nd wish was for Genie to rescue Jasmine, which was thwarted by Iago stealing the lamp. I feel that a wish which is not fulfilled to completion shouldn't count.
You can go anywhere you want. You're your own master. But if you can, it'd be great if you could go along with them and help Sora find Jasmine.
Donald just told you how they can't bring people from one world to another, but I guess they make exceptions for magical beings.
Kairi, go to her.
Yes, go to her, the girl you've been miladying over this entire time. Just don't get sidetracked playing with Pinocchio inside a giant space well. Since Monstro swallowed the gummy ship whole, the ship should be inside the whale's mouth with Sora and the rest. I mean, we see Geppetto's crash ship. Pinocchio was living in Traverse Town. The only way to get here is with a gummy ship, something he would not have. Monstro has to be from the Primus cut of bad level design. Not only is the layout confusing, the rooms make no sense in relation to each other's position. Not to mention, the wall textures and lack of landmarks make the rooms look the same, and some of the doors you pass through are drop-offs on the other side. So if you mess up and go through the wrong one, you can't reverse course and have to start all over.
You know, Geppetto's awfully worried about you.
Pinocchio, stop fooling around. This is no time for games.
Are you not going to make sure Pinocchio is following you? Riku runs away from Sora every time they meet. He can't keep blaming Sora for not paying him any attention when every encounter is Riku appearing suddenly, taunting Sora, then running away while moaning about how this is all Sora's fault and he'll be the one to save Kairi. What organ is this Sora is jumping into? I mean, there's only a few things that could be.
Please, give me back my son.
Sorry, old man. I have some unfinished business with this puppet.
Riku is more desperate for intimacy than we realized. Repeated, boss fights, boss fights.
What can I do?
There are 7 maidens of the purest heart. We call them the princesses of heart. Gather them together, and a door will open to the heart of all worlds.
Riku already brought you Jasmine. Are you telling me he kidnapped an innocent girl with no idea why he even did it? You just told him that that would somehow help save Kairi and he believed it?
Now, I'll grant you a marvelous gift. The power to control the Heartless.
Well, that doesn't seem suspicious at all. You controlling the very monsters that took Kairi's heart. Sora and crew just leave Pinocchio and Geppetto here inside Monstro with no way out. So in the Kingdom Hearts universe, Atlantica is a world that doesn't include land at all, despite the movie's plot requiring it. If Donald can transform them so they don't stand out in worlds they don't belong to, why is there a rule against disturbing the balance if you can make yourself blend in no matter the world?
Ariel, wait! Slow down! Don't leave me behind!
Crabs don't actually swim. That's your problem, Sebastian.
There's something weird about them.
That's Mermist. Everything I said about Monstro's level design applies to Atlantica. Just add the swimming mechanic and vertical level design to make it all the more confusing. This level was so bad they had to paint arrows on the wall in the final mix version to show you where to go. I don't care how nostalgic it is, we do not need this amount of Under the Sea.
That was too close.
3 of the regular Heartless that Sora destroys by the hundreds? Yeah, I can see why you thought that would be a threat.
As long as I have my trident, I will not tolerate those creatures inside this palace.
But the rest of my kingdom? Eh.
They seem to be coming from Ursula's grotto.
I knew it. That sea witch is up to no good again.
So how about you go do something about Ursula then, King? What good is that trident if you never put it to use? Since it has been established that there is no dry land in this version of Atlantica, how would Ariel come to have a collection of who's-its and what's-its from dry land?
Those impudent fools will never find the keyhole.
You don't know where the keyhole is either, and Sora has the keyblade. So why are you so certain of this? Inside a chest in this sunken ship lies a crystal trident that for no reason at all is the key to unlocking the keyhole. I just want to point out that the keyhole that can only be locked by a keyblade requires another lock that has nothing to do with the keyblade just to access it.
Daddy, no! How could you?
How did King Triton avoid hitting you? You were right in front of the crystal. This has none of the impact of the original scene where King Triton destroys the entire grotto. Ariel doesn't even have a strong connection to that crystal trident she just found, nor does she have someone she loves that she's forbidden from seeing.
As the key-bearer, you must already know one must not meddle in the affairs of other worlds.
King Triton knows about the keyholes and the danger they possess, which I assume means he also knows about the keyblade, and that it is the only way to lock a keyhole. Thus, the only way to protect a world from the Heartless, which are currently attacking his kingdom.
Let me guess, you wish to see other worlds. That shouldn't be too hard.
Promising to help Ariel explore other worlds doesn't mean much without the promise of giving her legs to walk on dry land. How do you have a plot about Disney princesses being kidnapped for evil purposes, but Ariel isn't one of them?
Now, my dear, if you can take me there without your daddy knowing.
This looks more like Ariel wasn't needed at all to steal the trident. The palace is wide open with no one guarding it. Ursula could have swum in and taken it. The hell just happened to Donald's beak? I would love to know how one can shoot fireballs underwater, or avoid electrocution when you use your own lightning spell. Is she drowning?
If you can travel to other worlds, maybe I can too.
Seriously, you need legs before you can leave this world, and you just killed the one person who can do that for you. In Halloween Town, Jack wants the Heartless to dance for him, but they won't. Except for these Heartless in his introduction that have no problem dancing.
Those ghosts will be a big hit at this year's Halloween.
Would they? I mean, this is a world full of monsters and ghosts. There's even a ghost dog. Are the people really going to be impressed with more ghosts?
But their movement still needs work. It's not scary enough. I want to strike bone-chilling terror. I'm going to consult the doctor.
2 words for you, Jack. Forced labor. Halloween Town is a darker place than the movie suggests if they force surgery upon those who won't dance for Jack. Giant books are a fun visual for a tome full of knowledge, but trying to read something this big would turn studying into exercise. Turning a single page would be the equivalent of opening a door. Have they no concept of volumes? And yeah, all of the important information in the middle of the book cliché.
Why, of course. The Heartless need a heart.
I mean, there's probably a reason they're called the Heartless.
We need the key to this thing first.
Why would your artificial heart even come with a lock? And if you made it, shouldn't you have the key?
My, that was amazing.
Jack apparently has never seen someone unlock something before.
The Heartless are completely out of control. We can't stop them.
Maybe our experiment triggered something.
In every other world, the Heartless attack without cause. In this one, they remain unmoving until the experiments on one of them start.
Ooh, when I get my hands on that, well, I've got no hands, but I'm still gonna nab that heart and control the Heartless.
Can't you already do that? You work for Maleficent, and she gave Riku the power to control Heartless. You cannot trip a man in an electric wheelchair. Can a ghost dog even smell scents? Wouldn't the scent particles just pass through it? Just so we're clear, I'm beating children, right? Excellent. My final form is a defenseless giant version of myself that is easily defeated. Square must have gotten Peter Pan confused with Treasure Planet because Hook's ship is flying through, I'm guessing this is space? This also contradicts the fact that only gummy ships can travel between worlds. Hook's pirate ship is clearly a regular vessel. So Hook ran the gummy ship, and somehow Sora ended up on the deck after that, while Donald and Goofy were captured without Sora seeing it and placed below deck. And where is their gummy ship? That should be here too.
Where are Donald and Goofy?
Are they that important to you? More important than old friends?
It is possible for people to have more than 2 friends. Riku is like a jealous boyfriend.
Not so fast. No shenanigans aboard my vessel, boy.
How did you not see them standing there? Do you have a field of view the size of a peephole?
The hold is crawling with Heartless. Let them keep an eye on the brats.
You are locking up a wielder of the Keyblade, a magical weapon that can unlock anything. And you think your Brig and some Heartless, which Sora has defeated countless numbers of as well as some of your compatriots, will keep them contained? In fact, why even capture Sora? Riku didn't need him for anything, nor does Hook try to kill him. They went out of their way to do this and then felt satisfied throwing Sora below deck.
Just a little bit of pixie dust. There, now you can fly.
While Sora might be young enough, Donald and Goofy are way too old for Neverland magic to work. Donald is a duck. Shouldn't he already be able to fly?
And why those 7? What is Maleficent planning anyway?
Who knows?
How would Maleficent ever recruit anyone when she didn't let any of them in on the goal?
Tell me, where did he go?
To the ruins of Hollow Bastion, where Maleficent resides.
Little known fact, Parlay requires you to give up important information when asked by your enemies even when it makes no sense to do so. Wasn't this taking place in Gummy Space? That's where Hook's ship attacked Sora. Now they're at sea in Neverland. That wasn't an ass stab, that was right in the kidney. So this is more of a prison gank.
What's that thing? What about the clock tower?
Tinkerbell tells Peter there is something at the clock tower, but the keyhole doesn't even appear until Sora arrives. So once again, this is Earth, right? I'm starting to believe this whole other worlds idea is a bit shaky on its foundation.
Do me a favor? Look after her for me, will ya?
Does Tinkerbell have any say in this agreement? She's the person who raised Peter from a baby. Then again, Tink and Peter's relationship has always been a creepily incestuous one.
Just remember what Donald said to you. No frowning, no sad faces.
How can you be so cheerful?
Sora was psyched up about telling Kairi about flying moments ago. Now sudden Sado. If you have a scene where the main character internally flies through a void in his mind to witness a moment from someone's past that doesn't really add to the narrative, you should consider cutting it. According to Backstory Grandma, people coveted the light and wanted it for themselves, but ended up destroying everything and the light was swallowed by darkness. But then children rebuilt the world, and I couldn't agree more with that last statement.
When our world fell into darkness, Belle was taken from me. I vowed I would find her again, no matter what the cost.
Shouldn't Beast be cursed forever now? If Belle was taken from his world and he's still a beast, then it means he didn't fulfill the requirements for lifting the curse before the last rose petal fell. Am I overthinking this? Yes. But that's only because the devs underthought all the Disney lore in order to cram these characters into this game. You would think Beast's story about finding Belle would affect Riku. Beast's plight is exactly the same as his own. Found himself taken from his home, missing girl that he loves, and willing to do anything to save her. This stuff writes itself. Except in this case, I don't think they even realize the connection they created, because no attempt is made to do anything with it.
But it all ends here. There can't be two Keyblade Masters.
Oof. There is one military-grade retcon coming for that line.
How did this happen? I'm the one who fought my way here with the Keyblade.
You were just the delivery boy.
The game's opening was Sora's dream made it clear he was the chosen wielder of the Keyblade. That happened before Riku fell to the darkness. Otherwise, Riku should have been having dreams like that if he was originally supposed to wield the Keyblade. And yes, people who played Birth by Sleep are going to be in the comments claiming, "Nuh-uh, Riku actually was the chosen wielder of the Keyblade." To them I say, there are so many plot holes Nomura has attempted to retroactively fix that he has actually made things worse. For God's sakes, he recently released a bonus prologue game that exists to explain why Mickey doesn't have a shirt on in this game's ending.
You don't have what it takes to save Kairi.
And I should know. I've been working with her kidnappers.
Goofy, let's go. We have to remember our mission.
Even if Donald and Goofy are under orders to stay with the Keyblade wielder, this is still a dick move. Sora is stuck here without their ship, and this place is filled with Heartless that he is now defenseless against. Heartless have never shown the ability to mimic someone like this until Beast needed to be distracted from the fight with Riku. Goofy and Donald left Sora outside, entered the castle, then the moment they see Sora again, decide to take back their earlier decision. It's like the only reason they did it in the first place was for cheap drama.
I don't need a weapon. My friends are my power.
That's nice and all, but you would have been spanked had the Keyblade not returned to you. Riku is so impressionable he will even stop to talk to an obviously sketchy guy in a robe that offers to possess him, and then even takes him up on the offer. Ansem / Riku knows that Kairi's heart is inside Sora, but still allows Maleficent to go fight him even though she can end up killing Sora. He even powers her up for round 2.
How ironic. She was just another puppet after all.
It's ironic, but not to you. You were the one pulling Maleficent's strings.
A fitting end for such a fool.
Except Maleficent isn't dead. She makes a return in the next game. You could say her relevancy is dead though.
Kairi's inside me?
I'm having trouble figuring out if the innuendo is intentional or accidental.
It is I, Ansem, the Seeker of Darkness.
Except that you really aren't. And Ansem is someone else, and you are in fact the Heartless of someone who won't even be revealed for several games. Compared to the other games in this series, this plot is pretty straightforward, and that apparently was the problem, because they butcher this game by retconning a lot of what they set up in it. Donald forgets that he's a wizard and goes for a tackle. That looked more like you were about to behead Sora than open his heart. I'm pretty sure the devs made this fight easier in Final Mix, because I beat Riku on my first try this time. Back in the original version, I had to spend a day power leveling to beat this son of a bitch. So here's a fuck this boss in particular sin 16 years in the making for my frustration back then. Sora did not think this action through very well, since freeing Kairi's heart not only turns him into a Heartless, but completes the final keyhole that Ansem needs to reach Kingdom Hearts. You could have taken Kairi to another world and freed her heart there. Anywhere would have been better than this room with the final keyhole in it. All things considered though, this is still an amazing moment and deserves some sins off.
Sora?
Kairi knows absolutely nothing about Heartless, but somehow figures that this Heartless is Sora by deducing facts from the vapor of nuance. Could you guys maybe put Kairi up in a different room from your Disney casting couch studio?
I guess it's more than just a fairy tale.
I'm curious about what actually constitutes a fairy tale in a world like this where actual fairy tales are reality. 3, 2, 1... And this shot has officially lingered on Kairi's boobs way too long, and given me a creepy vibe from the devs in regards to her.
Let's go.
You can't go.
Why not?
Because it's way too dangerous.
Yeah, you woman you. I mean, you only have the power to save people from the darkness and turn Heartless back into humans. What could you possibly do?
Take this. It's my lucky charm. Be sure to bring it back to me.
You made that charm on the beach the day everything went to hell. What about it is lucky? Here's a new scene and some text to explain our way out of a plot hole in the ending. Aren't remixes great? According to Leon, once the door to darkness is closed, the worlds will be separated once more and no one will be able to travel between them again. That's a premise I wouldn't stick in my game if I was hoping to make sequels. So if this level is made of destroyed worlds, why is it creating versions of worlds that are still intact? Am I misreading things, or did they just screw up their own logic by reusing assets? Chernobog makes so much sense for a villain in this game that it actually makes no sense that he wasn't utilized more. He's just a boss that appears out of nowhere and serves no point.
And so this boy sought out to escape from his prison. He sought a way to cross over into other worlds, and he opened his heart to darkness.
You know, I can't tell if Ansem is talking about Riku or himself, because like every other detail in this series, they couldn't leave it be and kept rewriting things until in a later game it's revealed that Ansem came from the same island himself. And I'll be damned if I believe they were thinking that far ahead and wrote lines like this that would only receive additional context a decade later in a side story.
Kingdom Hearts!
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a title. The first and second parts of the Ansem fight are pretty solid, but this final fight against his battleship form is all sorts of awkward and unsatisfying. You just wail on a damage sponge that doesn't react to you at all.
Kingdom Hearts! Fill me with the power of darkness!
Kingdom Hearts is light!
Ow! My darkness! You just said Kingdom Hearts was light, then light spilled out of the door and vaporized Ansem. Now it's nothing but a gate to pure malignant evil. Where is all that light we just saw? Riku could easily fit through that gap, and he would have a lot more leverage to close the door from the other side.
Now, Sora, let's close this door for good!
Only 20 seconds of Mickey Mouse in the entire game. Sora is way too young for any of his flashbacks to be in sepia tone.
I'm always with you too. I'll come back to you. I promise. I know you will!
You know, you could go with him. Nothing is really stopping you from jumping to his side. Kairi is originally from Hollow Bastion and was brought to Destiny Island after her world fell. So shouldn't she end up back there when the worlds return to their original state? Spin-off baiting and sequel baiting.
Everyone's back in the hottest new movie on video.